We are winding down the year. It is December 7th. And before we jump into things, I want you to pause the video for a second and tell me in the comment section down below how you felt Pokemon did in 2023. So we had Crown Zenith come out at the beginning of the year. Then we started off with Scarlet and Violet base. We had Paldea Evolved. We had Obsidian Flames. We had Scarlet and Violet 151. We had Paradox Rift. There's a lot of sets. But really the beginning of the Scarlet and Violet era, if you remember correctly, Crown Zenith marked the last set at the old MSRP. So after Crown Zenith, which was technically in January, every set after that started out with a new manufacturer suggested retail price, which is what MSRP stands for. But how do you feel Pokemon did as a whole throughout 2023? So pull rates are completely different. Obviously, a lot better than what we were used to in the Sun and Moon era and in the X and Y era, and the back half of the Sword and Shield era. Obviously, a lot better because we had the Trainer Gallery things and stuff like that. Alternate arts were great. Scarlet and Violet was great all the way up until like 151, where pull rates started going back a little bit. Paradox Rift pull rates were back a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see how Paldea Fates does and what they do with the next main series sets after that. But I want to know what you guys thought about Pokemon in 2023. We're going to talk about Crown Zenith, which was the first set that released in 2023. I absolutely love Crown Zenith. So I think Crown Zenith is a phenomenal set. I think it's got great legs. When it comes to Pokemon sets, as far as these specialty sets go, I put Crown Zenith right up there, not too far, behind Celebrations would be obviously really strong. Like that's going to be probably your number one because of the 25th anniversary, the nostalgia factor, all those great things. And then 151, obviously below that. But for all the other holiday sets that have released over the past couple of years, the past few years, Crown Zenith is absolutely phenomenal because the pull rates are so great. The Galarian Gallery is fantastic. The artwork is fantastic. If you look at the chase cards in the set, the gold cards, the secret rare Pikachu, which is really cheap right now, the pull rates on that like 1 out of 100. But the gold cards, if you want to pull one gold card, you're looking at like 1 out of every 200 to 250, somewhere around there, where you have to pull 700-800 packs if you pull perfectly to be able to get all of those gold cards. And the price point on Crown Zenith right now is super attractive, just like the Japanese counterpart VSTAR Universe, which is still it's still pretty expensive. You have to kind of look around for VSTAR Universe to try and find it at $90-$95, somewhere around that price point. But rumor has it that VSTAR Universe probably on its last legs as far as reprints go, probably not going to have a whole lot of reprints, which makes VSTAR Universe very attractive for the long term. But I think Crown Zenith also very attractive for the long term, especially right now, as long as you can buy product at ridiculously cheap prices. And with the reprint of Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes, so Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes, the first product from Crown Zenith, which came out at the beginning of January, didn't really have any reprints until recently, and it was a massive reprint. And because of all the product that came out, right, we had Obsidian Flames 151, Paradox Rift, just a giant surplus of products that came out. A lot of storefronts were forced to discount Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes as far as the reprint goes because they needed to pay invoices. So they were blowing them out. They're selling them for $35, $40 a piece, which is $10, $15 below MSRP. So a good price point. And Crown Zenith, obviously, in my opinion, you can feel free to disagree. That's totally fine. I think Crown Zenith is going to be a set that people will enjoy opening for a very long time, especially years down the road, because the pull rates are so attractive and because the artwork is so attractive. So we're going to look at Crown Zenith as far as what the reprints have done to the market, and we're really going to focus more on the booster packs. We're going to focus on the Elite Trainer boxes. I think those are like really the two main products in the set, which are the best. And then we're going to look at a bunch of singles which have really just kind of fallen in price like crazy and continue to trend in the downward direction. It's really interesting to see the market just kind of fall apart in a lot of different. It's a great buyer's market right now. If you are financially able and you are interested in buying cards, like now is the time to kind of do it. There's a lot of really great cards that are selling, maybe not at the bottom yet, but getting closer and closer to that bottom, which is really cool. Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes, we're looking at 6 months of data right here, and Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes really started trending upward. So they released in January. It was relatively flat, a little bit higher after the release because they were a little bit more difficult to find. They weren't really really available in stores. But as more and more product got released, Crown Zenith Elite Trainer Boxes really kind of leveled off because people kind of shifted their buying habits to cheaper alternatives when it came down to price per pack. So they would open up things like mini tins, they would open up things like the Regieleki V boxes. There was a lot of different Crown Zenith products that came out, and they waived the releases of them over the course of 5 months, where there was basically new products that came out every single month. So it was a great opportunity for a lot of Pokemon fans who wanted to open and collect master sets of Crown Zenith or collect cards of Crown Zenith, that they had additional options every month where they could shift those buying habits to get the lowest price per pack option out there. And then after all was said and done, the dust settled, they kind of reprinted things, and they did things with these special Lugia boxes that came out at GameStop as exclusives, and then they released this big giant reprint of Crown Zenith Elite Trainer Boxes where they kind of allocated a lot of stuff out to LGSs, and now things have slowed down. You can't find a whole lot as a storefront of Crown Zenith Elite Trainer Boxes. That's not at distribution. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to reprint it again. They could put more out. I mean, you never know what Pokemon is going to do. Look what happened with Shining Fates. But if this was the final print run, or if this is kind of twilighted now in the future, like Crown Zenith looks very, very strong, but it really depends on what Pokemon is going to do. That's why it's always kind of a gamble when it comes to Pokemon, because you don't really know what Pokemon is going to do. Look what they did with Shining Fates, where they just pushed out and pumped out tons of new product. But if you look at the Elite Trainer box right here, in August of 2023, this was sitting at a high point of $64.97 for an MSRP box of $50. So way above that price point. Not attractive to buy at that price point at all, because you're looking at about $6.49 per pack at that price point, because 10 packs in that Elite Trainer box. Then it started going down a little bit once that reprint kind of got announced. And then right around Black Friday, right around the end of November, when that reprint finally hit, it sunk way, way down. You can see it dropping down to $40.44 at the beginning of December. Now it's sitting at $40.96, but there's still a lot of really great deals out there at different storefronts. You can go on the TikTok shop and you can put in promo codes still to get Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes at ridiculously low prices. Great opportunity to find cheaper packs for Crown Zenith, and because of their pull rates, very, very attractive set to open. Here's the booster packs right here. You can see selling for $6.29 about a year ago, right before release. That was right around pre-order pricing, and then started coming down. And as more and more product came out, you can see trending downward pretty much through the entirety of the year, all the way up until August, where it started kind of ticking back upwards as less and less product became available. Then we had that giant reprint come out, and then at the end of November, prices sank all the way down to $3.52. So basically a $35 Elite Trainer box, $3.52 per pack, which is really, really great. A great price point for these specialty sets. Now it has gone up a little bit, so it's sitting at $3.88 right now, but still much more attractive of a price point now than where it was, because it is a specialty set. So those Elite Trainer boxes are a little bit more expensive. If we look at the gold cards in the set, and we're just going to kind of go in order of the most expensive cards in the set. If you look at what happened to this Giratina V-Star, this is technically considered an alternate art. The 4 gold cards in Crown Zenith are technically classified as alternate arts, but this card has been absolutely destroyed over the past year, and it's a beautiful looking card. If you talk about those gold cards and the picture that they form when you put them all together, very, very cool, and I think it's going to be something that people are going to appreciate for years and years to come. And pull rates are decent for it, but not perfect for it, right? You're not looking at a Giratina out of every 100 packs like you are for that secret rare Pikachu. So beautiful artwork on a Pokemon that's very desired, and a cool picture once you form all 4 of them together. But if you look at January of 2023, this was sitting at a 1-year high of $171.90, and it's just gone down ever since then. It did hang above $100 all the way up until May of 2023, and then it started sinking below that price point, and it really got hit hard over the past few months here. You can see it dropping down to $67.31 in November. That was its low point. It's sitting at $68.10, but these prices are still fluctuating every day as more and more product gets open, which is why I don't know if we're necessarily at the bottom quite yet, but we are, in my opinion, at least nearing the bottom on a lot of these cards. The Arceus V-Star gold card, even with its playability, now there's so much Arceus V and V-Star out there, so there's so many different options on, as far as what rarity you're going to want to play. There's just a lot, so you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on a gold card, despite the fact that some people might want to play the max rarity in their decks. But if you look at this card, in January it was sitting at 111.13. This is one of those cards that kind of shot up right after release, and then tanked right after that, where in March it had already dropped about 30 35%, and then continued to trend in the downward direction pretty much all year until October of 2023. That's where it hit that 1-year low of $53.40. Now it has rebounded very, very little, sitting at $54.08, but still very close to that bottom point over the past year. The Mewtwo V-Star, another card that shot up right after release. You can see this one jumping all the way up to $112.05 in January, shortly after Crown Zenith release. But after all those waves of releases, it wasn't sustainable, right? It just dropped like crazy. Very, very steep decreases all the way up until May of 2023, where it dropped below that $60 price point. Now, over the last 5 months, it's still continued to trend downward, but not as badly as what it did for the first half of the year. Sitting at $46.05 currently, so just above its 1-year low of $45.69. A really cool looking card with that Battle of Charizard. I love the artwork. These artworks are just absolutely phenomenal. If you look at the Palkia V-Star, this was sitting at $65.42 in January, trending downward the entire year. Again, very steep declines all the way up until August, where it was then already below $40. And over the last couple months, it still has trended downward, but not as significantly as it was for the first half of the year, sitting at $33.81 currently, so just above its 1-year low of $32.93. If we look at the origin form Dialga V-Star, so the final gold card, this was sitting at $71.78 in January. Again, same story, just a different card. Very steep decreases all the way up until May, and then started leveling out a little bit, but still trending in the downward direction. It has been relatively flat really since September. Now at this point, it hit $31.52 at the beginning of October, sitting at $31.99 currently, so very flat over the past couple months, despite the reprint that we just had. The Leafon V-Star got hammered really hard right after release. You can see $79.99, a few sales right away at that pre-order pricing. The market kind of got established though right around $40, and then really started trending downward ever since then. In May of 2023 is when it fell down to about $22, $23, and it stayed very flat since then. This one actually hit its low point of $21.11 in August and started climbing back up a little bit, only a couple dollars, and then it's been relatively flat over the last 4 or 5 months, sitting at $21.38 currently. Same thing with the Glacial V-Star, very flat ever since May. So over the past 7 months, it's been very, very flat. Almost seems like it's bottomed out. $39.50 is where this was sitting in February. This one was a little bit of a late bloomer, but then still a very significant drop after that. In May, it fell all the way down to about $20 and stayed relatively flat ever since then. It hit $17.74 in August. That was its 1-year low. Hit it again in October, and now it's sitting at $19.26 currently. The Raichu V, a little bit more interesting because this has been a very playable card, so you see some ebbs and flows with this one. I don't know if we're necessarily at the bottom on this one or not. In January, this one was sitting at $28.96, so that was its 1-year high. It dropped down, then started going back up a little bit because of its competitive playability. People pairing it up with Miraidon, obviously that played a big factor in how it was performing in the market, and then kind of fell out of favor a little bit, ended up dropping all the way down in August to a 1-year low of $15.94, then started going back up a little bit, jumped up over $18, and now it's sitting at $17.82. So the competitive play still does play a factor on things. Wouldn't surprise me if this one dropped back down to about $15 or so, especially once sets kind of rotate or once competitive decks kind of fall out of favor. The NTV, oh, this one is so wonky. NTV got blown up because of competitive play, like what we saw at the last international event, which happened down in South America. Absolutely insane with the winning deck, the Iron Valiant deck, obviously having NTV. It was just crazy to see the regular art kind of blow up. The TCG player just got bought out all over the place, and people were selling this card for $30, $35 around that price point. But in January, this one was sitting at about $25, fell down right away, and in May, it was sitting at that 1-year low of $12.66. It was really flat and almost started trending upward a little bit starting in August, and then you can see in November, it shot all the way up to $31.56. It's because it got bought out. It got bought out like crazy because people were putting it in their decks, and other people were trying to take advantage of the fact that people were going to want to put it in their decks. So because of that, it jumped all the way up to $31.56. That lasted overnight. Over the next few days, it dropped down in price. More and more people started listing their cards, trying to take advantage of the price spike, and then it went back down. So now it's sitting at $17.94. So still well above where it was was as its 1 year low, but nowhere near that $31.56 price point that it did end up getting to. If we look at the Darkrai V-Star, beautiful card. Obviously love these artworks. Like I said, they're just so good. $30.74 is where this was sitting in January. Took a little while for this one to kind of fall off the map. You can see in March it was still sitting close to that $30 price point, and then April, May, really kind of the bottom fell out. In June, it hit that 1 year low of $14.52, relatively flat over the next 6 months. It's sitting at $15.63 currently. The Suun V, much like what we saw with the Glacian and the Leafon, this one started out fairly expensive, $39.94. Very steep declines all the way up until May, and then it leveled off really, really well. In May, it was down to about $17, $18, and now it's sitting at $14.41, which is just off of its 1 year low of $14.31. Relatively cheap for a card that looks like that. Very cool looking. Here's the Irida right here. Really nice looking card. Again, a card that started out really expensive, and then after the pre-order hype kind of died down, it was sitting at $29.82 basically as a market, and then just fell ever since then. You can see very, very steep declines all the way up until April. So the first couple months were not good. Fell all the way down to $14.22 in April. Started climbing back up a little bit. You can see in August it was all the way back up to about $20, and then it fell back down. So now it's sitting at $14.21. So it's established a new 1 year low, but definitely a fan favorite, a popular card. A lot of this has happened with a lot of these cards in VSTAR Universe as well, especially the LSA Sparkle. This one has fallen like crazy in VSTAR Universe as well as Crown Zenith, but this one in January was sitting at $36.69. Steep decline all the way up until May, then started trending upward a little bit, and then August hit, and then it started falling back apart again. Hit $20.31 in November, then it climbed back up a little bit, sitting at $22.15 currently. And then we're going to look at the Secret Rare Pikachu, which is an absolutely beautiful card. Very, very interesting. This one started out over $100 for pre-order pricing, dropped right away because people were like, whoa, this is a lot easier to pull than we thought it was going to be. Came out with an established market of basically $41.86, but that didn't last long at all. Dropped all the way down below $15 as of April, started trending upward a little bit, but then a slow, steady decline all the way up until currently. It hit $8.02 recently, sitting at $8.04 right now. So single digits for this beautiful card. So if you don't have this one in your collection, you can find it for $7, $8. That's not a bad price point for this card. Beats buying 100 packs of Crown Zenith and opening it up, but still very, very stunning card with all the different Pokemon in the background. Absolutely gorgeous. Pull rates, like I said, very attractive for this card, but because of that, it has fallen down to $8.02, but I do think it'll be in demand for a long, long time. So that's Crown Zenith. Like I said, let me know what you think of Crown Zenith. Did they print too much of it? Maybe. I mean, that obviously is kind of up to you. I think they did a really good job of printing it to demand, and now we'll see what happens in the future. Hopefully, there's not another giant reprint, because it is readily available for cheap pricing right now. So I would take advantage of the market right now while you possibly can. But very interesting to kind of see. I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long. I know I say that every single video. I really appreciate. You don't have to do any of those things if you don't want to. I just appreciate you guys no matter what. So thank you so much for everything. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until next time, peace.